Welcome back. As we see the market constantly trying to keep those 25,000 levels and a lot of sector-specific and stock-specific approaches, around 44 points an upsurge and about 25,000 on Nifty. The broader markets are also showing good signs, and there are themes and sectors like we say, and the consumption story along with the IT sector is doing really good. Now joining is Mr. Abneesh Roy, Executive Director, Nivama Institutional Equities. Abneesh, thank you for giving your time to ET Now. And while we talk about the consumption theme, the consumption story, even before the festival demand, we had a good news coming from the government. The Prime Minister did give his views on the 15th of August and particularly about the rate rationalization on GST, which gave a positive boost. Now, from here, we'll also have the consumption story moving ahead on the back of the festivals, which will start coming in till the December and the New Year as well. So, with GST cuts likely for staples like ghee, butter and namkeens, how big a consumption boost do you expect in the mid and lower end categories?
Yeah, thanks and good morning. Yes, overall consumption, this is a positive. We are seeing that last few quarters, multiple steps by the government or on the macro or on the weather front are turning positive for the FMCG sector. So we have seen tax rebate starting April. We have seen interest rate cuts. The consumer inflation, food inflation is at a multi-year low. Monsoon as of now is slightly ahead of normal, which again is good, and we have more months left. So rural continues to do well. Last 4 quarters, if you see, urban demand has been challenging. And in our view, worst of that is behind for FMCG. And now with this latest announcement by the Prime Minister, this is a good timing because before Diwali, the rate reduction announcement is likely. So this will improve the sentiment. This will improve the disposable income. In FMCG, there are 4 key positive companies likely in the listed space. So Bikaji, 70% of the business is at 12% GST rate. Imami has got almost 60% of the business at 12%. Nestle again has 25 to 27% of the business at 12%. And Dabur around 24% of the India business at 12%. So mostly this can reduce to 5%. Even in dairy, value-added dairy will see that benefit. So the dairy companies, value-added portion will see benefit. On cigarette taxation, we expect clarity post-Diwali, but we expect more of bucket reclassification. Overall increase may be a slight increase. We don't expect a sharp increase in cigarettes once the GST clarity comes. So overall, we are positive on the sector. Our topics based on the GST rate cut, based on the consumption, based on the market share, and overall macro and raw material, we'll be more positive on HUL, Britannia, Bikaji, Nestle. We in the discretionary, we like Asian Paint and United Breweries. But overall, we are positive on the entire sector. Thanks.
Hi, Abneesh. Morning. This is Shrishti also joining in. But if the GST Council does approve the cuts for the 12% slab items, how much incremental volume upside do you see for the key players like Bikaji, Imami and Dabur in FY26?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you see currently also Bikaji is seeing good volume growth. We expect high single digit kind of volume growth even in Q2. And once the GST rate cut happens, if you see 70% of the business gets moved from GST rate of 12% to 5%. And given the anti-profiteering clause will be there, companies will be very focused on passing it to end customer. Now for Bikaji, if you see a large part of the business is at 5 rupee, 10 rupee price point. So the good part for FMCG is that they don't need to cut prices because these are price sensitive, popular price point of 5 and 10 rupee. What they will do is the movement from 12% to 5%, which is a 7% movement, that can potentially get added to the grammage. And if you see correctly also, Bikaji is seeing high single-digit volume growth even without the GST rate cut. So I will say that they can move to a double-digit volume growth post the rate cut, etc. So yes, this will drive a good pack plus volume growth, and overall the impulse purchase is there in the snacks category and juice category for Dabur, for example, if that cut happens. So yes, we should see category-wise different volume growth. But for Bikaji, it could move from a high single to double digit if the rate reduces from 12% to 5%.
Keep you waiting, but I wanted to talk about cigarettes, right? That's the big, fat, lumpy chunk. It seems that they're going to be reclassified under the 40% slab with the cess adjustment. Do you see meaningful changes for both ITC, Godfrey, or even a VST for that matter, their tax burden or profitability?
Yes, so if you see last many years, Modi government has had a rational tax policy on cigarette because that works for the government tax collection. That is good for the overall other stakeholders because there is almost 22% of the cigarette industry, which is the illegal, unorganized, which doesn't pay any taxes. So that's why we expect that this policy should continue. Currently, if you see cigarette legal industry, ITC, Godfrey are seeing good volume growth. So we are seeing Godfrey volume growth of almost 27, 28% YOY consistently. Even ITC reported good volume growth of 6.5% in Q1. So that's a good volume growth. So I will say that yes, some increase can happen. You are absolutely right. The 28% rate moves to 40%. And then we have got many other kinds of taxes on cigarette. For example, cess is there, AED is there, etc. So those things get subsumed and the movement from 28 to 40, whatever is left, maybe they will reclassify that under a new name. We don't expect reduction in cigarette. So that is something which is unlikely. Maybe a small increase can happen, which is good for the overall legal industry, that they can continue to gain market share from the 20-22% illegal. So we see a positive, but till the clarity comes. So as I expect post Diwali, the clarity, till then, maybe the stocks could be a bit range bound because of the lack of clarity. But post Diwali, maybe in November, December, we expect clarity on the cigarette taxation, mostly reclassification and almost mid single digit or high single digit kind of growth in the most likely scenario, or maybe no increase also.
Whenever we talk about the consumption story, it's always a comparison between the urban and the rural demand. Now, the urban demand has been sluggish for a while, but it seems like it has begun charting its course for recovery. Do you think GST cuts and festive season tailwinds will finally revive growth in urban staples and discretionary spends?
So I think urban, we need to be a bit more nuanced because there are other kind of factors on play also. If you see IT sector, TCS is cutting almost 12,000 jobs and maybe even more. So IT sector is a big hiring for the urban in the 4-5 key cities. So I will say FMCG, yes, urban should see recovery. I still expect next few quarters, rural will still grow faster than urban for FMCG. Coming to specific question on the GST rate and before Diwali, the timing, yes, I think that's a very good coming together of multiple factors. Apart from the interest rate cuts which have happened, food inflation is at a multi-quarter low, overall inflation at a multi-quarter low. Yes, FMCG should see gradual recovery in the urban, but rural will still grow faster than urban for FMCG next few quarters.
What about earnings then, Abneesh? Because we're seeing multi-quarter highs in revenue growth across Unilever, Britannia, Marico, Pidilite, ITC. Do you expect this kind of momentum to sustain into Q2 and beyond?
Absolutely. I expect slight acceleration in few cases. For example, in Bikaji, as I said, I do expect that 6-7% volume growth of Q1 should become high single digit in Q2, and H2 is also looking good. Similarly, in Britannia, I do expect that the balance 3 quarters can be double digit versus 9.8% in Q1. HUL, again, the same expectation is there. The new MD, Priya, is more knowledge from an India perspective and much more aggressive. So I do expect HUL to inch towards 6 to 7% volume growth by Q3, plus the raw materials cycle is also supportive. Nestle, again, I expect gradual recovery. Asian Paint also, and all paint companies, worst is behind. They do have more exposure to urban than some of the other parts of the consumption. So yes, again, paints also, we expect gradual recovery, and mid to high single digit volume growth is likely in H2 for many of the paint companies also.
That's right. And while we talk about the margins, they seem to have bottomed out during the last quarters. Which segments and companies are best placed, according to you, in order to drive margin expansion for the coming quarters?
I would say food companies are a bit more benefited in the H2. Q2 also some recovery versus Q1 will happen. If you see, coffee has corrected 30%. So we expect Nestle and HUL to see benefit of that. Tea cost has also corrected, but that benefit will come essentially in H2. So the tea companies can benefit. Palm oil, again, if you see, most of the food companies use palm oil. Q1, we did not see much benefit because the duty cut by government happened during the quarter. Q2 will see that benefit from the start itself. Uh, One company in which still clarity is needed is Marico. So Copra has been very inflationary. There is some correction from the peak, but I think we'll need more time to get a better understanding. So H2, we expect Marico also to see some benefit. Overall, other key raw materials like wheat and even for the paint companies and even for soaps, I think overall raw material is looking benign. So H2 will see recovery, but Q2 also some recovery should be there.
We're so good having you on the show. Thanks for your time as always.
Thank you.
Well, the two hot spaces in the market right